Ugh, let me guess. We're gonna have a girl boss character come in and make John Wick her bitch in his own franchise. It's my impression of the internet for the day. What is up, everybody? Welcome to my review of, what the hell is it called? From the World of John Wick, Ballerina? We're just going to call it Ballerina. Like, enough of this subtitle shit. We get it. So this is a new spinoff from the John Wick films. It canonically takes place between John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum and John Wick Chapter 4. And it stars Ana de Armas as this ballerina assassin who is on a revenge ploy to kill the person that murdered her father when she was a child. This is a movie that certainly has been on my radar. I saw the trailer in theaters back when they dropped it. I thought the action looked pretty kick-ass. I certainly had some concerns on the story because if you don't know, this was a film that was initially directed by Len Wiseman, a guy that I actually really like his work. I've never understood the level of hate that he gets. I think both of the first two Underworld movies are really good. I love his Die Hard film. Watch the R-rated cut. Important caveat there. And while Total Recall certainly pales in comparison to the original, it was still a pretty good time. So, like, he's a guy that when you attach his name, I get excited. Everybody else gets worried. Nonetheless, he did a version of this film that apparently the studio was not overly happy with, and so they brought Chad Stahelski in, the guy who has directed, I believe, all of the John Wick films, to come in and do some reshoots and kind of pump up the action a little bit more. And it's very unclear out there how much of this movie he actually reshot. Some say there was just additional action. Some reports make it seem like he came in and just redid the entire movie. But in the trailer and the credits, it says directed by Len Wiseman, so I don't know. But nonetheless, when you hear reports like that, you're always a little bit guarded. You always expect the worst. We do have some examples of films that have been saved by reshoots, but we have a lot more where you watch it and you can tell this thing has been put together with duct tape. So, I was not sure what to expect, but I figured if nothing else, the action sequences that we do get are probably going to be awesome because the John Wick franchise is quite literally the action standard of this generation. There is nobody, maybe save for Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible, that can give you that level of excitement with an action film than the John Wick movies. And starting off with the positives, we'll just go ahead and get that out of the way now. The action is kick-ass in this movie. It absolutely is up to the standard of what you expect from the John Wick films. They're very similar in style while also having a little bit of a different tone, a little bit of a different approach here. You have Ana de Armas as your lead character, and so clearly there needs to be a little bit of a switch between what she's able to do and what, over 6 foot tall Keanu Reeves is able to do. So in a way, it's kind of scaled down from at least the last couple of John Wick films, but there's a little bit more weapon usage and there's a little bit more variety in the weapons that she uses. And so I would say if you walk in expecting the John Wick standard to be met, this movie absolutely reaches it. It does not feel like the discount version at all. And certainly the side of the film where the action is the forefront is where you really feel like it starts to kick into high gear. You have about 45 minutes, maybe an hour or so, where we're starting to get into the plot and we're realizing who these characters are and we're starting to get a little exposition in her training. Once it's full bore, Ana de Armas going to kick ass, the movie absolutely delivers. And I think that she is incredible in these action sequences as well. Like, Ana de Armas is one of the more promising actresses that we've seen kind of rise to prominence over the last couple of years. And just when I saw her little action set piece in James Bond No Time to Die, like most of us, I was like, give her her own movie. I'll watch the shit out of that. And that's basically what this is. So you have her as this character who's somewhat soft-spoken, similar to John Wick, so there's not like a whole lot of character work for her to do, but as far as being a stunt-driven actress, for somebody who is supposed to deliver in these action sequences, make you actually believe that she's the one doing them and she could do all of this in this world, within the context and the rules of the John Wick world, absolutely top-notch. So I would totally watch another movie with her character, or I'd watch a team-up movie. I'm sure that idea is already brewing out there. For those of you that are like me and are big carnage whores, I think this movie might be the most violent, the most gory of any of the John Wick films. I mean, maybe I'm remembering wrong, but there's going to be a lot more exploding bodies in this one than I remember from the other four. So that was certainly a nice little surprise. When you see a grenade literally just turn a guy into pink mist, I was like, oh, hell yes. We're only like an hour in. Give me more. And you get more. I mean, there's a part where she has a fucking flamethrower that was badass. Like, yes, 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 yes. Violence, carnage, yes. I think they did a pretty good job at interweaving this movie into the plot between 3 and 4, interweaving it into the world in a natural way. You've got Angelica Houston's character here, who we were introduced to in John Wick 3. Of course, Winston shows back up. You even get to see what I imagine was the last recorded performance of Lance Reddick here as the concierge of the Continental. So nice subtle ways that they wove this in without creating any kind of plot inconsistencies or trying to go over the top with how they attach her to all the other well-known John Wick characters. So it can survive very easily as a spin-off that doesn't overburden the mainline films. And the last thing that I will say here in the positives, look, I know I was being cheeky and kind of poking fun at it in my intro, but there legitimately is a number of people that go to watch movies with a female lead character that are on the defense from the moment they buy their ticket going, I hope this is not a girl boss character. I hope they don't beat up men. And there are some projects, mostly at Disney, that I understand making some people maybe a little leery that the movie will turn into that. And I wouldn't have even felt like I needed to address it if that wasn't one of the first comments that I got, and even a DM that I got when I posted my out of theater reaction of somebody going, is the movie like this? Because then I'm not watching it. So what I'll say is this. If you're somebody who is worried at all that the Ballerina character is going to be way overpowered and the action sequences are going to have this huge suspension of disbelief in them, that is going to take you out of the film, or the biggest fear, because it shows in the trailer her fighting John Wick, is she going to just make John Wick a little bitch in his own franchise? There's no reason to be worried about any of that. In fact, the movie goes out of its way to justify all this in its plot in her training when they're telling her, you're smaller, you weigh less, you're going to be going against giant dudes. So there's literally a line where they tell her, you have to fight like a girl, like fucking scratch, grab eyeballs, bite, kick dudes in the balls, whatever you got to do to fight. Like, you got to fucking cheat. Otherwise, you have no chance. So if anything, this movie might be the answer that all of you guys have been waiting for, of a movie that like justifies all of that. And as far as the fight with John Wick, all I will say without spoiling anything is that the point of that fight is not to see who wins. So you'll see what I mean when you see the film. But yeah, I don't know. Some people are probably rolling their eyes that I even addressed this. Others are going to be very relieved that I addressed it. But I'll just say in the positives, against some of the films or TV shows out there that don't justify this, Ballerina does a very good job at making it believable that Ana de Armas can do everything that she does in this film. Moving on to the mixed. I don't know how much shit I'm going to get for saying this, but I'm going to throw John Wick in here. And it's definitely mixed positive, but hear me out. First of all, I understand why they put John Wick in this movie. He's the star. They don't want to feel like, you know, they're taking a franchise away from Keanu Reeves because he was reportedly done after the fourth one. If we're taking place between 3 and 4, it would make sense that he would be somehow involved with the story. I get all of that, but the main driving force was absolutely so they could put him in the trailer and they could put him on the poster and they could get all of us that are John Wick fans into this movie, even if we're not sold on this new character. And I think they do a pretty good job at putting him in here in a way that's satisfying for fans of that character in the franchise. But I don't really feel like the movie needed it. It kind of felt like a commercial break in a lot of ways. I feel like not a huge distraction, but it wasn't as naturally woven in as you would hope. It really did feel like, okay, now let's pause and bring Keanu Reeves in because we know you all love him. The other reason why I'm mixed on it, and I have said this critique in my review of the third film and my review of the fourth film, and I even echoed it to a certain degree in my Sonic 3 review. I don't know why over the last couple of years, Keanu Reeves seems to has totally just leaned into his unwarranted reputation of being like the best, worst actor ever. The way that he reads his lines in this movie is really the way that he's read them over the last couple, so I guess most people are not even going to flinch when they see it. For me, it's distracting. Like when you have a simple line of dialogue like the front door is open, and the way that Keanu Reeves reads it is the front door is open. It's just weird to me. Like, I don't remember him acting that way in the first two films. In fact, the first film, there was a lot of more emotion there where he's rageful because of his wife. And you think about the scene where he's like, I'm thinking I'm back. Like, there was a lot more drive to what he did as John Wick in the first couple films. Now it's like almost a shtick where he has to read everything like this. And it's just odd to me. It just bugs me. I love Keanu Reeves. I've loved him my entire fucking life. I will defend him against even the biggest haters. But there's moments like this, especially when he's against what I would arguably say is a more talented actor as far as like line delivery, Ana de Armas, and there's a lot more dialogue here because she's asking a lot of questions in these scenes. It makes him seem like a worse actor than he actually is.
Looks like you already have.
See, I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if that's the way that he's being directed. I would hesitate to think that since he read for Shadow in the exact same way, but I don't know. He had more emotion to him. He had more like punch to the way that he would act in previous films. And now it just kind of feels like he does that thing with everything. And I don't like that thing. Moving on to the negatives. The story here, not really anything to write home about. Now, I can already see some defenses of people saying you don't go to a film like this for story. And that's fair. I also see some defenses of people saying, hey, all the other John Wick films aren't necessarily these big, story-driven films either. And that's also fair. But what I will say is that I feel like the 4 John Wick films have a lot more focus on lore building, world building, and bringing in really interesting characters that just pop on screen. And so it doesn't necessarily feel like the story is this big glaring hole or this big missed opportunity in those films. Where Ballerina, I don't really think does that. I don't think it does anything to advance the lore. We already knew about the ballerinas and the Angelica Houston from the 3rd film. We already knew about the little coins where you have to cash it in for a favor, and I believe the 2nd film. And so there really wasn't anything, maybe save for the cult led by Gabriel Byrne, which isn't really explained a whole lot, that drives a little bit more lore or builds the world out anymore in Ballerina. And she's also not surrounded by the most memorable characters. Like John Wick is the biggest side character that comes in, and we already know John Wick. So yeah, I feel like if this movie had a little bit of a more interesting story besides just your stock revenge tale, or if they did something else to build the lore of this world of assassins, that negative would go away. As is, it really feels like you're just trying to get through all of that until you get to the action sequences. And then once you're there, it's just like action until the end of the film, which absolutely is why we're here. But I don't know. Sometimes I want a little bit more. Already kind of hinted at it, but Gabriel Byrne as your lead character, or your lead villain rather here, and all of his like cult disciples or whatever, felt like they were really underdeveloped. I felt like it was just kind of a character anybody could play, which is not something I want to say about a Gabriel Byrne character in John Wick. I've always liked his villains. I mean, End of Days, anybody? Am I the only fan of that one? Maybe.
You don't want to see me upset. Believe me.
Oh, you want to fuck with me? You think you know bad, huh? You're a fucking choir boy compared to me.
But yeah, I wanted a little bit more out of either the lore of what this cult is, why they exist, why Angelica Houston and John Wick would actually feel a little bit hesitant about pissing them off. Like I wanted more from that. And all we get is just, oh, that's the person that Ballerina wants to kill, and you're probably going to get fucked up by the end. And the last negative that I'll say here also deals with story. There is some details in here that are intended to be like a big plot reveal in like the end of the 2nd, beginning of the 3rd act, and it really felt like they went nowhere. Like that was the moment where I honestly felt like my story issues were suddenly going to be resolved. Like, oh, finally, something to chew on. I wonder where this is going to go. Oh, absolutely nowhere. And I don't know how much of that is the reshoots. Maybe that was supposed to be a bigger piece of this film, and a bigger piece of this plot in its original version, but once they pumped up the action and did a lot of reshoots, they just kind of like snuffed out that subplot and snuffed out that plot reveal in favor of just having even more action sequences in the 3rd act. And most people would probably be totally in favor of that trade, but it feels a little bit awkward with its place in this cut of the film because it obviously was supposed to be so much more. Overall, guys, I enjoyed Ballerina. I would say it's probably my least favorite of the 5 John Wick universe films so far, but this is kind of a Mission Impossible situation where even my bottom is still a really good movie. So if you're somebody that loves these films, if you're somebody that loves Ana de Armas, you want to see her kicking more ass the way that she was in No Time to Die, go check it out. The action is absolutely worth the price of admission. If you're going for story, just manage your expectations a bit. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed that, please click over here for all of my 2025 new release reviews. I'm also going to put a ranking up here of the 4 John Wick films that came out before this. Like, share, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss everything in the future. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.